Hey guys, it's a windy one here. Today we're going to can some ground beef. I got I guess, kind of a deal on ground beef the other day. But I can see it's going up in price. So we're dealing with the COVID stuff right now. The meat plants are shutting down every now and then, this and that, but just temporarily, I guess. But anyway, I picked up some ground beef, about a little over 9 pounds, and we're going to put it in some pint jars and can it, and then at that point it'll be good for years. I mean, the so they say up to a year, but then people have said, you know, they've had their things that they've canned 4 or 5 years later, and they're still good. But anyway, for us, we're going to say up to a year. We'll have 8 pints of ground beef, which is or 10 pints, which is about 10 pounds, 1 pound per pint. Here I'll have the backdrop of the dogs so you can see them. But yeah, so pressure canning. You always want to do meat in a pressure canner, so we're going to do that. We're going to brown up some ground beef in a couple big pots, and not all the way. You want some pink still left because it's going to cook in those bottles too, so the jars. But here we go. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please ask them below. Whenever you do any type of canning, make sure you look up on the official stuff. I'll put some official links down there so you don't get sick. But it's windy and chilly out here, so let's get this rolling. Okay, today we're going to can some ground beef. In here I have about a little over 9 pounds of ground beef, which is, I used 2 of these pots to make it, and then drained it, strained it. We have some water here we're going to use to fill up the jars after we put the meat in. We have 10 pint jars. So basically, I'm only going to do a couple here, and then kind of fast forward to the next part. So these jars are hot, they just came out of the dishwasher. Fill these up to about 1 inch headspace. Do another one. You're going to probably get about 1 pound of meat for every pint jar you have. Alright, so now we have 10 pint jars filled up with just meat. So let me add some water to the tops here. And again, we're just going right up to the 1 inch headspace, which is usually just right where this rim is. And you want to have heated bottles because you're putting hot water and hot meat inside. You don't want them to crack. Just put that one aside. And you can use beef broth or something else if you want. Finish these up, and we'll be right back. Alright, now we have them all topped off. Take our little guy here and go around the outside, make sure there's no air bubbles. And you can top them off again. They go down quite a bit. Alright, now that we did that, I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Before we put the lids on, take a little bit of vinegar on a paper towel. Just go around the tops of the lids here, the tops of the jars. Make sure that there's no grease or anything from the meat. So I'll do these 4 right here, and I'll put the lids on. Or I'll just do these while I have it. Okay, take your lids, pop them all on, get you there. And somebody's got 2 lids. And then these on finger tight. Alright, so we have a number of these bottles, they're hot, that have topped off to water. We put the salt in, we wiped the lids, tops of the jars. So now I have about 3 quarts of water in here, and it's also warmed up. But this is the Presto canner, pressure canner, 16 quart. It'll hold 10 pint jars. And I'll put a link down below in the description so you can read a little bit more about it if you want. But as you can see, it's a tight 12 or tight 10 in there. So you put the lid on. This has an arrow here that lines up with this arrow. Boom. And I'm going to put it up to about 6 on my dial here. Bring it out a little bit. So it's about 6 right now. I'm going to let this go. It's probably going to take about 20-25 minutes. And once we have, let me go back over. Once we have some steam coming out of this vent, and this little guy is popped up, then we know it's ready to start going. And at that point, I'll put the weight on here, and 75 minutes begins at my elevation. If you're over 1,000 feet, then you should look up how long you should do it. But anyway, I'm gonna let this go for a while, and we'll be right back to put the weight on once this is up and steam's coming out. All right, so the little guy just popped up. Now I'm gonna give it about 10 minutes for the steam to come out of here. Make sure all the air's out, and then we'll put the weight on. All right, it's been about 10 minutes or so. There's a good steady stream of steam coming out the guy here. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this. This is a 10-pound weight, and I'm going to keep the oven here at 6 stove. Once it gets up to about 5 or 6 pounds on the dial here, I'm going to dial it down a little bit to 4. But we're not starting our time yet. Once it hits 10 psi on here, and this guy starts rattling like this, then we'll start our timer. So this shouldn't take too long. See you in a bit. Alright, so we're at about 10 psi now. I'm going to turn my heat down even further. When it got to about 5 or 6 psi, I turned it down to about 4. And then I know from doing this before, I want to put it between like a 2 and a 3. But this 10-pound weight will release anything above 10 psi anyway. So now I don't have to watch it as close, although you always want to watch pressure cookers, pressure canners when you're doing them. So I'm going 75 minutes. So what we want to do is make sure it doesn't drop below this 10 psi. If it drops below, then you want to turn it back up, get it back up to a 10 or above, and start the 75 minutes over again. So let's do this. See you in 75 minutes. Alright, here we go. So now, what I'm going to do is turn the oven to off. The stove, I keep calling it an oven. Turn that to off, and then we'll just leave this alone until this goes down to 0. And this guy drops down. So we'll see in a little bit. Maybe 10-ish minutes. Alright, pressure's down to 0, and this little valve guy dropped. So I'm going to take that guy off, and I'm going to let it vent for about 10 minutes. Alright, now we got the best part. I should let it vent for probably about 15 minutes. And open it up away from you. I'll put this over here. Make sure not to break the top of your stove. Alright, let's grab them out. See what we got. Now, some people do let it sit like this for another 10 minutes or so, but I really did let it sit probably 15-20 minutes already just venting. So just pour the water off the top if there's any. Look at that. You see it's still kind of boiling in there. Grab these guys out. Hopefully we'll hear a little bit of can top popping. We'll see what's up here. But anyway, once you do this, then you let them sit out for 12 to 24 hours. I'll just usually, I don't know, it's about 7 o'clock at night right now in the evening. So tomorrow morning, maybe after 8 or 9 o'clock, I'll take these lids off and then put them in the pantry. And you can let these in the pantry for at least a year, but possibly more, depending on who you talk to. So one other thing I like to do is look in there. And a good clear water in there means that nothing leaked out during the cook. So I did throw a little bit of vinegar in there. That way the bottles don't turn all cloudy. So let me take you off of here and give you a close-up. So there we go. 10 pints, just about 10 pounds, ground beef. You can just keep in your pantry. You don't have to use up space in the freezer. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate you watching. Ask any questions down below. We'll see you.